are back in rehearsal with Boop.
Boop.
What's it like to like live with the show? You've been living with the show for years now.
Yeah, we did it in Chicago a year ago, and waited
But
for
before that, you were working with it too.
Yeah, we worked on it. We did workshops. So,
Yeah.
It's like most shows. You spend 4 or 5 years getting it right.
Yeah, but do you like sort of marinate in it during the downtime, and then you get in the room again?
Well, after we left Chicago, I knew I needed a new opening to the second act, and I wanted a production number. But what I learned from it, technically, color and black, the world of the today world versus the cartoon world, the black and white world, and how we were going to make those two worlds play in this opening number. Also, the story of Grampy and Valentina both searching for Betty, right? So all that information I got in Chicago. So it churned up this new number. David wrote an incredible number with Susan, and Bob and I talked about it. And then I went to Greg and I said, Greg, what if? He designed an amazing costume, and I showed it to Finn, and I said, Finn, what if? And so I'm really excited.
Right, so you have like your team of people that you work with.
But we started on that in March. March.
Yeah.
Right, and it's what are we now?
February, yeah.
It's almost been a year to create one big production number.
Yeah. So we're dealing with Betty Boop, obviously, a character everybody knows, but you're also, and you already sort of referenced it, but Betty Boop drops into modern day New York. That's the premise on the most basic level.
She's taking a break from being this huge celebrity to find out what's missing in her life.
Right, and so what you're able to do within that very basic idea is, what's great about Betty Boop is that people know who she is, but they don't have that many specific feelings about her, right?
No.
So she's just kind of a character that you can run with.
Most people today think of her as that girl with one leg in the air on the back of a Harley Davidson jacket.
Is there a Harley Davidson?
She's so much more than that.
But there's no biker number.
No biker number.
But you're also able to do something which I think is really exciting is I love a modern musical. We don't get a lot of musicals that are set like today, right?
Yeah.
Like it could be Times Square today. Yeah. It's sort of a fantasized version of New York today, right? Yes. And I think it's really fun to explore that, and you're also, it seems like you're making a great New York musical.
It is, and she also says that New York is more of a cartoon than her world because it's all of these buildings crammed onto a tiny little island with people bursting out everywhere. Well, it does sound like a cartoon. And the Fleischers actually used New York as the base of a lot of their cartoon imagery.
Yeah. So like My New York, the number we just saw, you're very much, you're seeing the ensemble, you're seeing New Yorkers on the street.
And you're seeing Betty, but she's in disguise. She doesn't want anybody to know she's Betty Boop, so she's got a trench coat and a hat.
Just a regular girl.
She's just checking it out.
I love it. Okay. And then so we're dealing with Jasmine Amy Rogers, your fantastic leading lady.
Brilliant.
Great discovery as Betty.
Yes.
And then Ainsley Melham. So talk about Ainsley.
I first saw Ainsley in Australia when I was doing Kinky Boots. He was playing Aladdin in Aladdin.
Yeah.
And just followed him, what he's been doing. He came here and played Aladdin, and he came in for this, auditioned for me. And he's basically Gene Kelly reincarnated. I mean, he's got all of those tools. He can do any step you throw at him, as you just saw in New York. He does tap, he does hip hop, he does jazz. He's timeless. He can sing, and his acting is brilliant. He makes you believe she's real.
Mm-hmm. So. But it's also like a classic song and dance turn, which I loved when I saw
classic song and dance turn, but again, like you said, in the modern context, which we don't see often.
Yeah, it's exciting to see a young new talent.
He's dancing even more now in New York. Here, now that I've had a year to storyboard things.
Yeah.
I put more dance in the show.
Did he sign up for that? Was he ready for that?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's ready for it. I say, are you going to be able to do it? He said, yeah, I can do it 8 times a week.
Yeah. Right, 8 times a week.
I said, you have to do it 8 times a week.
It's not just doing it here.
Yeah.
So we're going to see his number.
We're going to see another number, that we added in Chicago, but no dancing, because the girls weren't available to me because it would have taken too much tech time. They were in another number that followed it that I cut.
Yeah.
And so I could use them in this number.
Yeah.
So
how does it feel to be in this moment? You've been in this moment many times in your career as a performer and now as a creator of musicals. Yeah. What is it like to be in this moment, right? About a show's about to launch.
I don't usually, in the theater, we're always afraid to say something is good.
Yep. Sure.
This is a good show.
Yeah.
It was a very good show in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I learned from that experience how to make it just a little bit better. And so I'm really excited about the additional stuff that we've added to it. And I can't wait to share it with New York because I'm really proud of it. And this number is a new idea.
Look at you in the middle of a big rehearsal for a Broadway musical. How you feeling?
I know. I feel really great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a very quick process. We're speeding towards our first day in the theatre next week, but we feel good. Things are coming together, some great changes in the show, and I'm excited for people to see it.
You, a nice Australian kid, headlining a Broadway musical. How did this happen? I mean, this is an exciting opportunity.
It is.
Right?
It's a huge opportunity. I do pinch myself every morning, but I'm really happy to be here to represent my country and do the thing on Broadway.
Well, what I love about this, I saw the show in Chicago. Now you're preparing for Broadway. You get to play. It's really fun. Jerry Mitchell, first of all, is really good at creating great opportunities for great talents. But you get to do something so like old-timey. It's almost like you grew up wanting to be like Gene Kelly, and then you were kind of like, well, it's 2025. How's that going to happen? And then it's like, oh, boop.
Truly, I think I've been looking for the project that allows me to do that. I mean, I grew up watching Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and Donald O'Connor and all of these amazing dancers. And that's where I get my influence as a performer, as an actor, as a dancer. And I've been waiting for that show where I can showcase it. So even though Dwayne, in the context of this show, lives in 2025, he has this sort of like nostalgia, old charm about him, which I really like to tap into.
Yeah, it's just such a unique opportunity, and it's really fun because obviously we're taking a classic character like Betty Boop, right, and bringing her into modern day, but then we're also sort of blending great styles, and a musical set in New York City today is very unique in itself.
Yeah, I love this New York number where we get to be on the red steps in Times Square. You know, it's thrilling, and as you say, we blend hip hop, tap, jazz. It's really thrilling as an actor and a dancer to be able to have a go at all those styles on stage.
So when you're like just in the moment, you're like, you guys are just drilling the show in every day right now.
Yeah.
Is it just sort of like just living the show for the next few months? And I mean, it's such a long process to get to opening night.
Yeah. And we did Chicago now a year ago, so we've had a bit of a break. So for us, it's about our stamina. You know, there is a lot of the show that we remember, so we're reminding ourselves of what that part was, but now it's about getting it up to show fit, ready to do it 8 times a week.
What about, I think Jerry's also really good at creating great families, show families, and great people, and you're working with Jasmine, Amy Rogers, who's also having a great moment here.
Yeah.
What is it like sort of getting in with your Broadway family when you're gonna spend a lot of time together?
Yeah.
And the show's gonna be a huge hit, and you can be in it as long as you want. And
Yes,
from your mouth together forever.
No, Jerry does an amazing job of bringing people together in a joyous and a supportive environment, and I think that starts with the casting. And I'm so lucky to have Jasmine alongside me. We get along like a house on fire, and I think that translates on stage. So. I'm looking forward to hopefully spending a lot of time with this company.
So you're exhausted doing the show? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But that's Broadway, you know. We sort of like operate from that level of exhaustion, and we know what that is, and we come in and we deliver 110 regardless.
So Jasmine, we sat on these very steps, maybe these steps. I think these steps.
They were these steps.
These steps? Okay, we sat on these steps like a year and a half ago.
Yes.
When I didn't know you and you were just cast as Betty Boop.
Yeah.
A big role.
Yes.
Big role in a big musical. You went to Chicago. Great reviews. Now you're back headlining the Broadway musical. I mean, this must be have been a crazy couple of years for you. What's it like to be back on these steps?
Daunting a little. These steps are crazy, but it's so exciting. I mean, it's just, I've been waiting for it for my whole life, and I didn't know when it would come or what it would be, but it's like the most insane thing. So I'm so excited. Yeah.
So now that you've lived with this show, and we were just saying there's kind of an element of surprise. People don't really know what a Betty Boop musical will be, which is what I love about it, because it really does it's totally original. You sit down. It takes Betty Boop, it pulls her into modern day New York. That's kind of, I think, all people need to know.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you tell
Truly.
people about the show?
I always hate when people ask, because I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I say? But I always say that it's just an adventure. Betty Boop is going on a new adventure. She feels like something's missing in her life, and she goes to New York to find that. That's a good little succinct little wrapped up.
Yeah. Betty Boop on the red steps in Times Square.
Correct, yeah.
There you go. That's the premise.
Exactly.
Well, what's cool is actually when you take a character like that people think they know little about her, right?
Yeah.
They know what she looks like.
Yes.
They know she's a fun girl. But you can really kind of build anything on top of
Right,
it.
yeah.
So what do you love about what's been built on top of Betty?
I honestly think we've found a way to stay so true to who she originally is. Bob Martin, the book writer, did an amazing job pulling that 1930s speech and all of that right out of the cartoon and putting it on the page. But she gets to become a full-fledged human being, and that's like something we never saw, you know? She exists in these clips, and I get to kind of explore the depths of her and the sides of her that we never saw before, and it's really, really exciting. She's experiencing the whole thing. She's experiencing things for the first time, so there's a lot to play with, yeah.
Right, because it's like getting to New York, but it's also just such a universal thing, right?
Yes.
You're able to sort of make her a universal
Yeah, and that's the
character.
thing that's great about Betty is that she is so universal. I mean, we talk about it a lot. She's supposed to be a version that a lot of women can see in themselves, and I really love that it's about her. And I think she does that in the cartoon as well, you know, because there's debate of who she's based on, this and that. But what it really comes down to is it's a woman that they drew with pen and ink on paper, and she somehow, everybody saw themselves in her. And that's the really special thing about her, yeah.
What's the rehearsal room like, especially with Jerry Mitchell? Jerry, I've watched Jerry in rehearsal rooms before.
Yeah.
He knows how to make a hit show. He knows how to bring together beautiful families, I feel like, of Broadway families. What's it been like working with him and being back in the room with him?
It's so much fun. I love him. I mean, I worked with him, I was 19 the first time I worked with him, and now I'm 25. And we just have built this beautiful relationship. There's a lot of trust there, and there's a lot of love and respect in the room. So we just have so much fun, and we get things done, and it helps that we've obviously done it before. But we're able to get things done, but also still like have this vibrancy and life and joy with everything we're doing. It's really, really exciting.
Do you feel pressure? Because there is a very tight timeline, right?
Yes.
People might see you playing this role years from now.
Yeah.
But right now is the time that you're actually working on it every day.
Right.
So it is a really condensed period of
is.
time. And does it feel with pressure?
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we plan to knock out, well, we will knock out the rest of the show, honestly, maybe today. And once we start running, I'm not afraid. I think it's in there, and it's only going to get better because I already feel like I have, which is really exciting for me. So I don't always feel that way, but I feel like I really have her base, and so I get to build on that, and that's really exciting. Yeah.
So talk again about the opportunity, because you said like this is what you sort of dream of, and so many performers don't get this moment.
Yeah.
And now you see your picture out there, and you see ads, and you are Betty Boop.
Yeah, it's really wild. You know, I always say, first of all, that like Broadway isn't necessarily a destination; it's a possible stop on the journey. You know, but I saw my first Broadway show. I think I was 16, I saw Phantom, and I was like, oh my God, I literally cried because I was like, I want to do that so bad. But yeah, it's just everything I've dreamt of. I started theater when I was 7, so it's wild to kind of see my face here or there. Or every time someone like plays a video on their phone and it's my voice singing, I always kind of like whip my head around. So it's definitely a new experience, and I'm trying to be better at like accepting that with like, you know, that's I worked for this, I'm doing this, instead of being like, oh, what is that? You know, it's insane. Yeah.
It feels like you guys have made a beautiful little thing, and I just can't wait for you to unleash it on Broadway.
Yes,
right?
I know,
It feels kind of
yeah.
like that, like a little secret project.
Yes, and it's gonna be so joyful and just so much fun. And I think we need that right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Faith Prince back on the boards.
Back in NYC.
Faith Prince in rehearsal for a brand new musical comedy on Broadway. This is exactly this is where I want to be.
Paul.
Talking to you right here.
Kind of delicious. It is. It's boopalicious.
Boopalicious. Has it entered your
Oh, yeah.
vocabulary?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it all?
First of all,
boop-boop-a-doop?
I've always been a fan.
Okay.
I mean, Betty Boop, I have a doll that my brother gave me because he said I always reminded him of Betty Boop, you know. But Jasmine is sublime. I'm literally the little cherry on top of this thing. I come just riding in, touching down like a couple of times.
You are.
and
You
it's
get
so
to
fun.
be. You get to be that lady, that musical comedy, that Broadway legend who can come in and have a fun turn.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's the first time, 40 minutes into it, I'm like sitting there going, oh, this is fabulous. Take my time with my makeup, you know, and then boom, it's like I'm shot out of a cannon. It's fabulous.
You have had a beautiful career in the New York theater.
Thank you.
What does it mean for you to be, I mean, this is to me, you know, February, New York City, all these there's musicals in rehearsal on every floor of this building.
I know.
It's so crazy. Like, do you feel the energy? Do you still get excited about being a part of all this?
Oh, yes. And ramping it up. I mean, it's like one day you're kind of hanging out, the next day you're running 3 marathons. I mean, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know, ramping up for that 8 show a week, you know. And it's a Jerry Mitchell musical. Honey,
He knows how to do it.
he does. And no rest for the weary.
Is he keeping you on your...
Yes, I think he thinks I'm as young as his ensemble. Somebody better let him know. No.
You've been involved with the show for a couple of years. I saw you do it in Chicago a year and a half ago.
That's right.
You were fantastic.
Thank
so then
you.
you got to kind of go home, live your life, sit with it.
That's right.
What is it
Marinate.
like? Yeah,
We
yeah,
marinated.
marinating. And then you come back.
Yes,
Is
and
that
there have
fun?
been some changes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's a great way to kind of do it because you start thinking about it. And it's David Foster walked out yesterday. He goes, "It was at a 7, now it's a 9.5." I was like, "It is. You're gonna love it. Just come on down. You're gonna be glad you did."
What is it like just being in the room with a Broadway company? You know, you're building these relationships that will go on for months, maybe years, and you know, you build these little Broadway families, don't you?
Absolutely. And you know, it's like one day you were the youngest, and the next day you turn around and they're calling you mama and asking you like, "Hey, what about this?" Asking your advice. I love that because you know I teach and coach and all that. But I always wait for them to come to me, you know. And it's funny because my dresser in Chicago goes, "You get all the sugar," because everybody would come up, kiss my hand, kiss me. I mean, what's not to love?
What's not to
No,
love?
I'm a lucky girl.
You're a
I
lucky
really
girl,
am.
and you know, I'm sure even some of those, like, I mean, people discover, a lot of people saw you live, like me. I saw you do all your iconic roles. People are discovering you on YouTube, right? And they
I know, they
get
pick it
obsessed
back.
with little things.
They
And
do.
It's amazing the legacy.
And they come in, they go, "You were on the Tonight Show?" I was like,
She was.
"Yes, I was."
Yeah, I remember you flew out
So-
there and then flew right back to do Guys and Dolls.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So it's fun, you know. It's a mixture of old and new, and that's what the show's about.
Yeah.
You know, because it's got that TCM kind of feel,
Mm-hmm.
but it has that modern edge. So that's what I am, TCM with a modern edge.
Look at you on Broadway.
Well, not on Broadway yet.
Well, we're almost there.
getting
We're
there,
almost
though.
there. We're in the
Well-
rehearsal. How does it feel to be in this point in the process? You've been working on this thing for a long. How long have you been?
Yeah,
working
it's
on this?
been a decade or more.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
It feels good to be finally here, and can't wait till April 5th. You know why? Jerry, you know why?
What?
I can't wait till April 5th. You know why?
Why?
Because you can't change anything after that.
Frozen. Froze it. You want to freeze it? I mean, has Betty Boop kept you up at night for many years?
You know, obviously I didn't know what to expect because I've never done it before, and it was a long, arduous process for me. And to the fairness of everybody that's involved now, there was another director, there was another writer, there was 2 other directors, 2 other producers. So each one of them that came in had their own idea of what it should be. And so finally, thankfully, we landed with this brilliant team with Jerry and Bob Martin. And so a lot of the music had to get thrown out.
But why Betty Boop? Why Betty Boop? I mean, it's kind of an unusual property. When I first heard, there's going to be a Betty Boop musical.
The actual fact is that it coincided with me thinking about my career and what I'd want to do next. And honestly, they were the only people that asked. Like somebody came along and said, "Hey, would you like to write a musical?" I was like, "Sure." I didn't care what it was. I was like, "Yeah, it sounds good." And it happened to be Boop.
So if I had said, let's do the St. Elmo's Fire musical, that's where we would have been now instead.
100%. 100%.
But what I love the show. I saw it in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm excited to see it for Broadway. And
Do you ever say to somebody, "I didn't love your show"?
No, I just don't.
You just don't say that.
I don't bring cameras and spend time with them. I avoid them. But what I really love about it is when you take a character like Betty Boop, what's actually great is because people don't know much about Betty Boop, you can build upon it so much, right? So she has certain personality traits that people would expect.
But no story.
Yeah, you can sort of do anything with her, make her sort of every woman, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of envious of musicals that come from a movie where there's like, the movie worked, so this story is going to work. So they had to work very hard to make sure that it was a story that could work because it's starting from a white page,
Yeah. You have had great success writing big hit songs. If people Google you, they will be, on their playlists all day listening to your great songs. Many people think, why is David Foster putting himself through this? Why are you going through this process of trying to create a hit Broadway musical? It can be arduous.
And it is. But in my career, I had like you said, I had a good career as a songwriter, as a producer. And at some point, you stop writing hits because that's just the nature of the beast. You get older and you're not relevant anymore. And the last 20 years, when those hits stopped, I went to Michael Bublé and to Josh Groban and Andrea Bocelli, and that sort of fulfilled that. But then that sort of changed a little bit. And I like to say about Broadway, as far as I know, and I'm not an expert on Broadway, but I think you don't have to write a hit song, you just have to write a good song. And I thought I was still capable of doing that. So, and it was a challenge.
Do you love coming up with an entire score and a sound for a show, and what was your direction in your head? What did you want this show to sound like?
I had no direction other than, of course, great help from our dear Susan Birkenhead over there, who's a seasoned great lyricist, and the team, Bob and Jerry, and the producers, Bill and Mark. But I think I just wanted to design music that you couldn't quite pin down the time frame. That was a mantra that I had. And I think if you listen to this music, you can love it or hate it, but you can't really pin it down to a time period.
It seems like there is it's a real burst of energy and joy, and I mean, I reacted to it immediately when a lot of times it's hard to take a score in on one listen, and I felt like I was just able to really take in the songs right away, which is really unusual.
Yeah. I mean, it does have that sort of 1930s, 40s, a little bit of that flair, but I'm not an expert in that. So the opening song, for instance, a little versatility. It sort of starts out. How's that start out, Susan? Oh, yeah. For those who still remember, it is Juliet. No, that's the wrong chord, dang. Well, anyway, my point was that by the time you get to the end of the song, it's like a real sort of, I don't want to say gospel because that's probably the wrong word, but it's sort of it leaves that feel and it gets into the... Ow! I don't know what that is, but it's, maybe a little bit timeless.
It's a lot of fun. I'll tell you what.
That's what it is.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I feel like that's sort of what you captured throughout the whole show. I mean, it just feels like you're just giving Broadway a little shot in the arm.
Well, I think I think I had a lot of help. And when I didn't know what to do, there was plenty of people to tell me what to do.
A lot of opinions on Broadway.
Yeah, and it is a collaborative effort, although I would say that, when I made records and when I do make records, it's not a democracy. Definitely. And so this is the same thing, only I'm not the leader here, but it's okay.
But you're just sort of taking it day by day and learning.
Well, we're here now, April 5th.
Yeah, April 5th.
April the 5th, hallelujah.
And then where do you go? Where's the vacation?
Well, I'm working on another musical right now, which we're doing a 40-hour read next month. The show's called Lucky Us, but we can talk about that later. It's gonna be good.
You're just on to the next one.
Yeah.
You're part of our world now.
Well, not yet. I haven't been accepted. I had breakfast with the genius that is Stephen Schwartz this morning because I just love him and I just wanted to sort of sit and hear him talk.
Sure.
And that's exactly what he said. Well, you're part of us now. I said, well, getting there.
Welcome to Broadway.
Oh my God, I can't believe I can actually say that.
You're in rehearsals for like a big Broadway splashy musical.
No.
Where are the emotions right now? Are you sleeping at night? Are you just waking up going like, I can't believe what's happening to me?
I'm hardly getting any sleep, but it's okay because the adrenaline is keeping me up. So it's a crazy experience. I can't believe I'm actually gonna be on Broadway. This is my debut. Crazy excited. It's gonna be awesome.
You're not playing Betty Boop.
No.
No, you are playing a cool, like, modern New York City girl, right? That Betty Boop gets to encounter, because Betty Boop drops into New York City.
Yes.
Talk about your role a little bit.
Okay, so Betty Boop, she basically drops into New York, and she meets this girl, and she's like this girl. She's got like bear spray. She's like maybe like early teens. Like she should not be going on the subway by herself. Okay, want to make that clear. But she does anyway, because she's that girl. So
She's that girl.
She's that girl. And she talks to Betty. She's like, You are so cool. I'm a huge fan of Betty Boop. Like, she's like decked out in like Betty Boop stuff. Okay, she's like Betty Boop's biggest fan. Okay, so and Betty's like, this is crazy. Like, this is kind of surreal. But she's like, you're clearly not from here. I'll show you around. So basically, she acts as Betty Boop's tour guide, and they end up becoming really good friends. You'll see later.
You're like a little influencer type girl, and you are in real life too. I mean, you know about being like a girl of the moment.
I guess so. I mean, if you check my Instagram, you know, on there I'm active, you know.
What's it been like developing the show? I know you did it in Chicago. Like, you've been involved for a couple of years now.
Yes, that's
true. What's it like to be with the show and get to watch somebody like Jerry Mitchell pull it together, and David Foster is writing songs? I mean, what is this like?
It's incredible, and it's crazy because you're in the room. They're making changes while they're like we're in the scene, we're doing stuff. They're like, you know, write that down, and I'm like, oh my god. The next day, it's like they've written an entirely new song. It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you see these extremely talented people, obviously the cast, Jerry, David, and everyone, and just seeing all their minds put together to create this huge project. It's surreal, and it's really inspiring, honestly, being a part of this.
Like 30 years from now, you're going to be like this big icon, and everybody are going to be like, what was it like to be in the room making Boop, that legendary musical? And you're going to be like, I remember everything.
I remember. No, I do. I actually don't have very bad memory, but this is something to remember.
Yeah, you have to like take it in every moment,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yes. So how excited are you to get to the theater, get into your dressing room, start doing this show every night? I mean,
gosh.
it's a whole lifestyle.
I'm still like, it hasn't hit me yet that like we're actually like, oh my god, this is happening. So when we go to the Broadhurst Theater, that's gonna be crazy. It's happening super soon, and I think I'm so excited to see, because I've gone outside to see everything, and it's incredible. Like, I see myself on like the big billboard. I'm like, oh my god. So it's so many emotions, excitement, nervousness, everything, you know, everything you could possibly think of. So I'm really excited though, mainly.
So it's safe to say you're where you want to be.
Oh my god, that was so good.
That's a song.
That was good.
And you saw them create that song. I mean, you're part of history.
Oh my gosh, you know, so many songs have actually changed throughout the development of the show, but that song has stayed, and I'm glad it did, because that's one of my favorite songs in the show.
Would you ever play like Betty in like 15 years? Like, would you ever thought about that?
I've never really actually put in thought of that.
The revival.
That would be kind of crazy. That would be like full circle. That would be full circle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you are a woman with a great experience building Broadway musicals. So when you hear we're doing a Betty Boop musical, what was your first thought?
Well, Bill Haber called me and he said, I finally have a show for you. And I said, what is it? He said, Betty Boop. And I said, Betty Boop? Betty Boop. And I thought about it for a minute, and then I thought, yeah, why not? But who's doing it? You know, so many people had been in the mix before. But I suddenly thought this could, you know, you could create anything you want.
Yeah.
Because nobody really knows who she is.
They think they know something, but then they really think about it. What do they know?
It's really about Mark Fleischer, who is the grandson of the guy who created her, said to us a very long time ago, he said, first of all, she is one of two of the most well-known, most iconic images in the world. He said the first is Coca-Cola, and the second is Betty Boop.
Wow.
And we would get postcards and pictures from people in, you know, somewhere in Africa, somewhere in Thailand, somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, she's all over the world. So you can really sort of take this figure and make up anything you want.
I'm glad you didn't do the Coca-Cola musical. Please don't.
The what?
The Coca-Cola musical.
God forbid, no, no, no.
So what do you love about, you're sitting behind the table, this is your spot during rehearsals,
Right.
You have your script, you take notes while you're watching
Right.
it. What do you love about this part of the process?
It's my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. This is the best part of it. I love opening night. Well, no, I love and I hate opening night. Because, you know, there's a lot of dread that goes
Sure,
along with
yeah.
opening night. But it's this part of it. It's making it.
Yeah.
It's making it from nothing. That's, sort of takes over your life. Ainsley and I were talking a couple of minutes ago, and I said, this is our lives. What happens is that you wake up in the morning thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, and it just fills your life until it's over. And when it's over, it's such a letdown. But
well, see, it's a great high, and then you go back to the reality of life. Even if it's a hit show, you can go visit.
Right.
But the process is exciting.
It's the process.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So what do you love about what's been created here? I mean,
Everything.
Yeah?
Everything.
What is
I
Broadway
love this show.
ready for?
I love this show. First of all, Broadway, get ready for the most incredible score.
Yeah.
Really incredible score. The kind of score they don't write anymore because it's timeless. And it's contemporary and it's old and it's it's just unique.
Yeah.
And when I first met David, I had no idea that this would come out of him. I knew what he wrote, and I knew he was a great songwriter, and I was excited. But I didn't really know until we started to do it. I think he didn't know until he started to do it. And then it just sort of started coming out of him, and it was incredible.
Stephen DeRosa, the delightful Stephen DeRosa.
Oh my goodness.
Gramps? Grampsy, who are you in this show?
I'm Grampy Boop, for heaven's sake.
It's a famous character.
Paul, so many years.
If I was 100 years
attention?
younger, I'd be a huge fan of this character, right?
Obviously,
it's a real character.
My God, I'd be Moana, and Moana 2. But no, they don't know Grampy. You don't know because you don't watch the black and white cartoons like I grew up with. Oh dear.
Betty Boop's constant sidekick.
No, her grandfather.
That's what I mean, but they're always
the
together.
Inventor,
But like the
professor.
co-star of all the.
Yeah, he's the person who takes care of her. He's the person who loves her. But she goes off on all her own adventures.
Right.
I mean, he's a minor. He's a supporting player.
He's
he's
doing
I'm not a lead.
Yeah, but he's
I'm not a lead.
constant part of it.
Yes, he's a.
So is it fair to say, since you grew up with him, that Grampy has been a dream role and you were just waiting for a Betty Boop musical?
I was waiting for olive oil, but I grew out of the costume, so that didn't happen. And then it was that. You know what? As much as you think I was born in the 1910s, I didn't actually know all of the Betty Boop shorts. So I haven't been saying, geez.
So you had to read the breakdown.
Please,
so you read the breakdown and it said what?
Grampy,
and you were like, I could do
and
this.
I was like, exactly. Jerry Mitchell called me. I didn't even know who David Foster was. Isn't that scandalous?
He wrote some good songs. He wrote the
Don't
St. Elmo's
tell
Fire,
anybody.
the love theme to St. Elmo's Fire.
I was in college when that movie came out.
Huge.
It was
huge.
gigantic.
Yeah.
St. Elmo's Fire. Are you kidding? You kids don't know. That was a big deal.
Huge.
And Demi Moore in that movie, she was sensational. Demi, coming back. Me and Demi. It's our year.
Coming back. It's your year.
Coming back.
2025. Stephen DeRosa, Demi Moore.
I
knew this was going to go off the rails. So you didn't even know who Stephen Foster was.
I didn't. And then, you know why? It's a good thing. I tell you, it was a good thing because I would have been too intimidated.
Right.
I would have been crazy.
Some new young kid is doing a score.
And he was so lovely. I mean, I knew in the ether, and then I knew he had done. And then people were like, "Oh, Celine Dion," and I was like, "Okay." And then I look at his resume, and you're kidding me now. The Bodyguard, like everything. Yeah. Then I was like, But he was so lovely, and by that point, I think he liked me because I'm here. Thank God.
Grampy.
And so that's it.
Grampy, I love it.
I'm doing the Grampy.
What a fun role for Broadway.
No, it's silly. Yeah, it's happy.
And you get to do is very old-timey vaudeville moments with Faith Prince.
I get to be on stage with Faith Prince, people. The legend. The gorgeous, gorgeous legend. See, I keep aging. She stays the same. It's the opposite of what's in the play, actually. It's like, oh, DeRosa, he's still in show business? Well, here I am. So, yes, that's it. So
you leave, I'm leaving. So you stay here.
Never. This is Broadway, baby.
So let's get centered. So what is it like spring, it's not spring yet. Winter on Broadway, everyone's in rehearsals. There's like a lot of energy, right? All these new musicals heading to Broadway at the same time.
New 42 is magical right now. I ran into Sarah Snook in the elevator from Succession. I plotzed right there. I was like, "Are you there, Snook? I love you." And it was like crazy. So, you know, you're everywhere. The cast of Smash, whom I adore, Christine Nielsen, Brooks Ashmanskas. But, you know.
You never know. Lauren Bacall could come from behind a door. Who knows what's going to happen in this
Leave
film?
her alone. Let her rest in peace, for God's sake. I like my coffee decaffeinated. Did you ever see that commercial? That's Lauren Bacall. You don't even know who Lauren Bacall is. Google her.
This building, literally, Patti LuPone could come out from behind a door.
She could. She could. I might be a little afraid. I'd have to hide behind Faith. No, I love you, Patty. God bless you. We're from the same part of Long Island. I think this interview is like a 4-hour.
You still
the extended cut.
We're going to run this all raw, running it raw. YouTube.
3 in the morning on a
YouTube
Tuesday.
Gold.
3 a.m. on Tuesdays. That's my hour.
But do you still get excited by? I mean, you've been in this biz for a long time. You've been in a lot of shows, but there's all these new kids.
I know.
Angelica over there, she just got here.
I know, the kid's 17 years old.
Yeah.
For God's sake. For God's sake. I was watching Chorus Line in fear, saying, I can't do that. I can't do that. I've never been to the ballet. and this kid's on Broadway, 2 million followers. I'm like, how does TikTok work? My phone is on silent. So it's like so stupid. But no, it's fun. It's great. It's a miracle. I'll be honest with you. If you're in this business and you're working, you are already so freaking lucky. But I feel so lucky, and don't hate me, blessed to be able to be in this show with these amazing, amazing, amazing people. So it should be
blessed.
happy and fun.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. What are you gonna do? Just tell me how to hashtag, and then I'll figure it out from there. But the blessed thing we're okay with. Just hashtag. I like corned beef hashtag. That's me. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing.
See this guy at the Broadhurst Theater in Boop! Exclamation point. Woo! We love a title with an exclamation point.
I know, honey. Give it to me. We need some exclamation points, don't we?
Look at you. You're in rehearsals actually for 2 different big Broadway musicals.
I am in the same building, 1 floor apart. Yes, it's surreal.
And they both have very small, short titles.
Yes.
5 characters. One is
word.
an exclamation point for this. Boop! Exclamation point. And you're doing Smash as well. This must be a weird high time in your Broadway career.
It is, and I had another one-word titled musical in the same season because Elf came back for this season, so it's 3 in 1 season. It's very, very, very weird.
Look at you, you're in demand.
Well, but no, it's going. I'm not going to complain.
So let's talk about Boop because that's where we're here.
Yes.
We're here for Boop, and
Love
Boop is fantastic. I saw Boop in Chicago. I loved what
It's better now.
What? Okay.
It was good in Chicago.
Okay,
It's
well, that's
better now.
Okay, great. That's good because that was good. So
Yeah.
now it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So you must be feeling really good.
I feel really good about Boop Boop, and I have to say that Boop still makes me cry at times, and I've seen it like 100 times, more than that. But it's a very moving show. It's funny, of course.
Yeah.
And it deals with 2 styles of humor. One, an older style that you would see in black and white cartoons, and another style of modern language comedy. But it really examines the sort of nature of love because Betty's never experienced that before. She's only been chased by men in cartoons, and now she's actually experiencing love for the first time and understanding what that is. I find it really moving, actually.
Well, I've been talking to everybody about how when you take a title like this, people know something about Betty Boop, but you're able to just really sort of swing big with the invention around it, I feel like.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because it's not like Annie or something where, there was an existing storyline of some sort that you can kind of expand into a musical. But Betty exists in a series of discrete shorts. So we did have to create a story to showcase her and Grampy. Grampy's become like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
So you'll see. Stephen DeRosa is hilarious, and I think the character is really fun to write for. So
we're dropping Betty into modern day New York. That's
Yes.
sort of really basic premise.
Yeah.
And there's a lot you can do with that. But a big part of it is just making her three-dimensional in many ways, right?
Yes.
And making her have a full-bodied life and emotions and love, like what you're talking about.
And in a way, she literally begins as a two-dimensional character, and then comes into a three-dimensional world. And we sort of represent that metaphorically, but she does become more human as the show goes on.
So what is the rehearsal room like for you? I mean, you've done your work a long time ago, but you continue to you're refining the
It never
work.
ends. My work never ends.
Never ends.
It
Well,
doesn't
has to
even end
It's-
after opening.
Really?
People don't understand that.
You're showing up with fresh lines at the theater?
Well, I mean, when a show has a life, it's a sort of living thing. It goes on, and I'm continually tweaking it. Jazzy Chaperone is still a show that I still am kind of massaging that script as the world evolves around the show in a way.
Huh. Interesting. So are you still like waking up?
No one pays me for that, by the way.
Right.
But I do tend the show.
Right. But as an artist, you have you have to fulfill your own.
Yes.
I mean, you live with these shows.
I'm a
forever.
dedicated artist.
Yes, we all know
Yes,
that. You've
yeah.
proven that by now. You have 2 shows happening in one building. Boop, a new musical. Brand new big Broadway musical. What is it like to be in the thick of it? You're walking through Times Square every day, going to New 42. This is, I mean, there's like musicals rehearsing on every floor here.
I know Smash is above us.
I know.
Which Bob Martin also wrote with Rick Ellis. He's a little bit of a traitor. I keep asking him,
Very greedy of him.
Well, I keep, they starting previews on the same night as us.
I know.
And I said, which one are you going to go to? And he said, well, whichever one is best by first preview. So we're in a competition there with Smash. No, and this building holds a lot of memories for me. We started the Jersey Boys tour a few floors down and did Anything Goes in this building. This building is filled with, it feels like show business, and it feels like there's a lot of joy in this building, and certainly on this floor. I mean, this show is like a ball of joy and glitter and dogs and puppets, and I mean, it's just so much fun.
But as an actor who grew up dreaming of doing this, what is it like to actually, I mean, do you like pinch yourself sometimes and be like, oh, I'm part of this. This is like, there's just so much energy on the streets.
I just started pinching myself. I was talking last night about this. I was saying, I had the great pleasure of doing Waitress on Broadway and Chicago on Broadway, but I was like the 80th person, and in Chicago, like the 8,000th person to play that role. But it was,
you had to go become a TV star first.
Sure.
And then they were like, okay, you can do it.
Sure, right, exactly. But, that was thrilling. I was like, I was finally made it on Broadway, which is all I'd ever wanted.
Yeah.
But I was fans of those shows. I knew those shows. I knew the marquee. I knew the window card. I knew the playbills. I had the playbills. It felt like being a part of like I was doing some virtual reality thing.
Right.
This show we're building from the ground up. I didn't know it. No one knew it.
Right.
So I haven't had that moment until just recently where I was like, I'm creating a role on Broadway.
Right.
And now I'm starting to freak out all over again. So I've become a kid. Again, I want to stand outside the stage door and get autographs of my own cast. I mean, I'm such a fan. And most of my stuff in this show is in Act 2. I get a little bit in Act 1. When I'm not on stage in Act 1, I go around the back and I sit in the audience and I watch the show every night. It is unbelievable. And watching Jasmine kind of come to life as Betty Boop is one of those theater moments that you'll talk about in 50 years, that you were there to watch her do this, because it's wild.
This is, I love this show because I love how it sort of balances periods, right? There's some things about it that are super modern,
right?
And you don't get that many musicals set in like today New York, right? That's a very rare thing. But it has this great old-timey energy, and I'm not just talking about the black and white film, but like, even in the song and dance numbers and the score is sort of like all over the map. It's just great music.
The score is incredible. We're very lucky that we have 2 people who know how to write real songs. I mean, these are songs that you actually do walk away humming or remembering, and you want to go back and listen to them again. They feel like standards. New York really does come from the outside in. I mean, we have rebuilt that New York Times Square energy on stage. And you're right, it has this, I mean, it's exactly what New York is. New York feels like old-timey and modern, all these different styles of music and everything. It comes together beautifully in this show in a way I haven't seen on Broadway yet. I just love, the best part for me is being on that stage and watching the audience react to her, like seeing Betty Boop come to life. It's this magic trick that is very, very special.
Hot tip, you shouldn't just down on stage and stare at the audience. I know some actors who do that. They drive me crazy.
Yes.
Stop staring at me. Do your job.
Well, I'll make sure to keep that in mind. But except the night you come, I will be staring you down, throwing things at you. You know, you're always close enough. You have good seats. I'll get you.